It's something most drivers do regularly without much thought or trouble, but to some, like Gary McDermott of Clinton, refueling his van requires some assistance.
Driving's the easy part. You know, I had to learn how to use adaptive driving equipment, but when you get to a gas station, there's no adaptive equipment for to get gas.
He became disabled more than 40 years ago after a diving accident. For years, he's been advocating for better accessibility at the pumps.
There's people having troubles all over the country.
McDermott helped write legislation recently passed by the Iowa Senate, spelling out changes that some gas station owners, like Pat Detterman, are starting to make on their own.
Now they have a spot they can go to, one or two, push the button, somebody will come out and help take care of them.
A large call button that can be pushed with a closed fist and lets attendants inside know.
Customer needs assistance.
And he should be coming out. How we doing?
Good, you?
Fill her up.
All right.
The bill has passed some hurdles, originally mandating the call button and signage notifying customers hours that refueling assistance is available.
We had to change it a few times along the way, but I think we've got a good, solid bill that I think most people can get behind.
Instead, requiring it for new builds or when upgrades are being done at stations with more than 2 workers, and offering tax credits to those that make the change either way.
I think some of they just don't think about it.
But for McDermott, it's something always on his mind, and he'll continue to encourage others to get on board.
Everyone knows somebody who's disabled in some regard.
In Clinton, Bailey Deitz.
So we take one day at a time.
KWQC TV6 News. Just last year, the National Human Trafficking Resource Center hotline took nearly 32,000 phone calls, 118 in Iowa and 660 in Illinois, whether from a community member tip or a victim. This map shows some of the hot spots throughout the country. Those are just the potential cases that get brought to light. Experts say there are so many more that aren't, and many times it's hard to identify, even for those who are caught up in it.
Every girl's story is different.
In most every story, fantasy or nonfiction, there's a lesson learned.
It doesn't even seem real.
At 31 years old, Sarah Kellum's tale is a cautionary one she's compelled to share.
I didn't feel like I could do anything else with my life. I just felt hopeless, and I just felt like that's the kind of life that I was going to have.
It wasn't always that way. Kellums grew up in the Quad Cities with what she describes as a loving family, though there was a very large void.
I didn't meet my dad, so it was a single-parent household, and I definitely think that had a part to play in just the low self-esteem.
She says that led to drugs and alcohol, getting kicked out of her home multiple times.
I was lost. I was losing jobs and didn't know what to turn to.
And at 21, mixed up with the wrong people, including a woman who ran an escort business and rented her an apartment.
She would call me every night and tell me that I had a client that I had to meet. And even if I didn't want to, I still had to be there.
Kellum says there were many times she said she wanted to stop, but was manipulated into it on a daily basis.
All this time, like, it wasn't my choice. And it was scary. There were times that it was life-threatening, like I didn't know what was going to happen to me. And so many times I remember thinking, this may be it.
It went on for a year until Kellums decided enough was enough.
And it wasn't till at the very end when things just got terrible that I just left and never looked back.
It wasn't until later on that she realized she had been a victim. It's not what you might picture when you think of sex trafficking, but experts say that's exactly what it was.
Sex trafficking is when someone is compelled to work in the commercial sex industry, either through force, fraud, or coercion.
And every day, potentially hundreds of women and children are advertised for sex right here in the Quad Cities. Why advocates with the organization Breaking Traffic work to raise awareness and to prevent more stories like Kellum's.
People don't like to think that it happens in their backyard.
A victim could very well be your typical girl or boy next door, but O'Keefe says there are risk factors that make someone more vulnerable. While it can be a kidnapping situation, runaway behavior and homelessness are common precursors. It's also often part of gang culture, or like in Kellum's experience, drug use and the feeling of a partnership with the trafficker.
They're told over and over, we're in this together, you're choosing to do this.
Kellum's believes her upbringing is part part of what led her to that very situation, but there's no one way victims end up involved. Today, she's a very different person, full of hope and intent to inspire. Kellums has worked with other victims, and her experience will become a teaching tool.
Though I'm not proud of the choices I made, if I didn't go through this, I wouldn't be able to relate to these girls and have that kind of passion to help them.
To make sure there are more happily ever afters like she's made for herself.
It just seems like a dream.
He's got a really good attitude.
With an air hockey mallet in hand, Frank Newberry is quite the competitor.
There we go.
But if this was a few weeks ago, he would be playing this match while standing instead.
One morning I woke up and I coughed and it hurt real bad in my back, so went to the emergency room. While I was there, I coughed one more time and then I just dropped to the floor.
A disc ruptured in his back, damaging his spinal cord and leaving him paralyzed from the waist down. And now
I'm here trying to learn how to go without legs for a little while.
the 21-year veteran on the West Burlington Police Department has been top cop for the last couple of years. Now away from his team, Newberry transferred to Davenport for a Genesis rehab program last week.
You'd fall asleep at night and you'd dream that you were walking, and every morning you'd have to go back through the nightmare that, okay, you think you can get out of bed until you wake up and find out it's real.
And it all came without warning. Doctors say it's rare, possibly connected to an injury from a while back.
I've slipped and fell several times on the job.
Along with his family at work and at home, it's the community he swore to serve and protect that's now giving him a lot of the motivation he needs.
That whole area down there just came to my rescue, sending me cards and everything else that really popped me, got my spirit up.
Physical therapy is a big part of the transition, which Newberry says is harder than training for the police academy.
Just simple as balancing yourself on the edge of a bed is difficult.
He's also working with a specialist who knows all about adjusting to disability.
This is a big change in his life, and learning to accept what he's got now and just trying to make the best of it.
There's a chance he'll regain some mobility, and as far as his job as chief, he could return even with the wheelchair.
I just got to take one day at a time.
He does want to continue serving, but his goal is to do it on his feet once again.
I'm hoping I can be one of those success stories, at least get something back and keep striving to walk.
In Davenport, Bailey Deitz, Kwqc TV6 News. From the young,
we want kids to have Christmas too.
Come on, keep coming. That's good, thank you.
To the young at heart.
Wow, cool stuff. Thank you very much.
So many in the giving spirit are here to make sure area children really feel the spirit of the season.
Went home, got the kids, and we went and got presents and brought them up here.
Just being able to be up here and bring our youth up here to let them experience this and see how the Quad Cities is giving back.
To youngsters who may not otherwise have anything under the Christmas tree. Car after car, driving up and dropping off things like bikes, Barbie dolls, and action figures. Toy donations look to be up at our drive compared to last year. Registration to receive toys is about 1,000 fewer families right now compared to the average year.
It could be, the economy's getting a little bit better. However, there still is time to register, so it could be a last-minute push for families that have not had time to register.
All the toys packed into a 20-foot U-Haul truck go on quite a journey before they get to the hands of local children.
It's quite overwhelming to get this mass amount of toys in all at once.
Once the toys are unloaded back here at the warehouse, they're then counted and sorted by age group and gender. Then volunteers actually come and go shopping for the kids. They pick out the toys, and you can see row upon row of bags are already ready to go.
Star Wars.
In her 4th year volunteering, Courtney Foster sees the whole process and what it means for families on the receiving end.
Definitely appreciative. Many tears of gratefulness. So that's always nice to see that our hard work that goes into this is that appreciated.
Because everyone involved has the same wish this holiday season.
I hope all the kids out there have a great Christmas this year.
In Davenport, Bailey Deitz.
It's just a good feeling knowing that you're helping the kids, helping families that are in need.
Merry Christmas to everybody. Ho, ho, ho.
Kwqc TV6 News.